Hello. Do we have some guests? I think we had one person join and leave. Yeah, we're keeping video off for you guys, but you can unmute yourselves if we ask you questions. I've got April, and then do you say your name, Shanette? Oh, I forgot she's taking care of a baby right now, so we don't want to. She's in South Africa.
Oh, really? Wow.
She would be, hold on, I want to make sure I've got everyone muted that needs to. She said that she's going to jump on in the middle of the night.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's dedication.
I know. I was like, we'll send you the recording.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll just wait for a couple more people and then they can keep joining. And for those of you that are on, if you have a question for Kate, go ahead and type it in the message box. And if it goes along with what we're saying, then we'll interrupt her a little bit. Her train of thinking, at least.
It's okay.
And then, some of them will come up at the end. So, and how much time do you have, Kate? I was planning on it being 30 or 40 minutes if we need to, but.
Yep, that's fine. Yeah.
Women stick around for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, let's see, what time is it? So, Kate was just telling me that she is having problems with her child's sleep.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know how that is in this group? We all
thought we were out of the woods, but apparently not.
Raise your hand. I think there's a feature for that. Okay, so we've got 3 ladies on. I think they'll keep coming because there was a lot more. So Kate, go ahead and introduce yourself. Just tell us a little bit about what you do for a living.
Sure.
Sound good?
So hi, everybody. My name is Kate, and I am a certified health coach. I'm also a certified postnatal fitness coach. I worked in the corporate health and fitness field for 15 plus years, doing all kinds of corporate wellness, corporate health programs, group fitness, personal training, all that kind of good stuff. And so then I decided when I was pregnant that I wasn't going to go back to that job. I transitioned into being a stay-at-home mom, but I knew that I wanted to continue, working in that space and continuing to help people with their health and fitness. And it wasn't until I had my own experience with pregnancy and recovery from an unplanned C-section and just kind of the whole postpartum experience that I knew that that's kind of where I wanted to go into, helping people, specifically new moms who I knew I couldn't be the only one who was having struggles. So I knew that that's kind of where I wanted to focus my attention and help people. So I kind of started to learn a little bit more specifically about how to help women with exercise, with mindful eating, and just, that postpartum period can be such a struggle, from exhaustion, sleep deprivation. You're so focused on the baby and taking care of the baby that your nutrition, can go out the window. Your sleep is all over the place. Probably the last thing on your mind is trying to do some kind of exercise.
Yeah.
So, it can really be a struggle. So I really want to help other women who are in a place like me now. I became a first-time mom at 40.
Okay.
My son was born just a couple of weeks after my 40th birthday. I was trying to get him in there before 40, but it didn't happen. So I do like to help women who started later in life, but Meredith probably told you that a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight really applies to moms of any age at any period of postpartum. So yeah, that's kind of why we're here today. I know that Meredith talks with you about helping to get your babies to sleep. Mm-hmm. So I want to provide you with a little bit more information about helping yourself and, putting a little bit more of the focus on your self-care and kind of trying to get your energy back and making you feel good again, feeling good about yourself, mentally and physically as well. So hopefully I can give you guys some good tips tonight.
I think that's exciting. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Part of my program, I have an online program for my clients. I have one session that is about moms taking care of themselves and then extra help for the baby. I just got so excited when you were talking. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to add that to my program. I'm going to add this because you're giving us all these valuable tips. I'm super excited. It's awesome. So thank you guys for being here. So do you want to go ahead and tell us, I guess the first question I had written down was about managing stress, because I think that's the biggest thing that we all deal with sleep problems and managing a home and a family, and a lot of people with their jobs too. So if you want to just give us some tips on that, that'd be great.
And the thing about stress too, and that's why it's one of the main things that I talk about with my clients and the moms that are in my group, is because stress kind of affects everything else, right? When your stress levels are high, it's going to affect your hormones. They're going to be out of balance. It's going to affect everything from your energy to your metabolism, to your eating habits, and then of course to your sleep as well.
I was about to say that.
Right. So it really, when you're feeling high stress and when you're a new mom, even if you're not a new mom, especially in the times that we're in right now, you're probably experiencing much higher stress levels than you would in normal situations, right?
That's been a really major theme in our group.
Yeah, mine too. It's like now not only do you have the responsibilities that you normally have as a mom, but now chances are you're homeschooling children. You've got other people in the house that aren't normally there.
Well, and a lot of these moms are dealing with just their fear of the unknown, and they're scared and they want to protect their little ones, and having the world change so much, that's all really stressful.
And it can be hard too for the new moms, the really new moms who aren't able to have the support of their families to come visit, and
they can't get the doctor to see them. It's so bad.
I know. So what can we do about it? So first is to remember that stress is actually your body's reaction to the circumstance or the situation. It's not the actual situation that's the stress. And it's important to remember that because you may not be able to control the situation or the circumstance, right? Obviously, we can't control the coronavirus right now and the fact that we all have to stay at home. But you can control how you react to those situations. And that's a really big thing, because how you think about things, your feelings about things, that's all going to control your actions. So if you're thinking negatively, if you're thinking, that there's no way out of these situations, that's going to show up in your actions, right? So when you find yourself in a stressful situation or have a certain circumstance, first, let yourself feel whatever feelings are coming up for you. And right now, they're probably all over the place, right? One day can be really great, and the next day can just be crap.
Yeah.
If I may be so blunt about that. And so, it's important to just be okay. Let yourself feel those feelings and be okay with that, and kind of let yourself process that. And then you can figure out how to move to the next step and how you're going to react to that. Right. And it's, it's a lot about your mindset, changing how you're thinking about the situation. So that's the first thing that you can do. And then the second thing is, I just lost my train of thought about what I was saying about stress. Stressing me out. So then you can kind of try to reframe. And by reframe, I mean, try to, and this can be tricky sometimes, because when you're really, deep down in a situation, or you have a baby that's not sleeping. I was talking to Meredith earlier, and she just mentioned all of a sudden last week, Thursday to be exact, my son kind of stopped wanting to nap, and now his sleep schedule is all out of whack, and it's stressing me out. Right? So I'm doing my best to try to reframe, try to kind of take another perspective on it. Yes, it's stressful, and it's a change from what we've been getting used to. But if you can kind of look at it from another perspective, and maybe right now you're not able to totally turn it into, rainbows and butterflies, but if you can at least try to see it from a different way. So in my example, right now I'm kind of right deep in this sleep situation. And it stinks right now, but I'm continuing to tell myself that this is just one of those phases, because I can remember back to when he was 7, 8 months old, and he was having these sleep regressions and having these issues as well. And at the time, it felt like I was never going to sleep again. And, was the stress ever going to go away? And it did. So I keep reminding myself now that this is just a phase that's happening, and it's, hopefully it's not going to last much longer. So I'm just kind of getting myself to look at it in a different way. And that can kind of help you, change, hopefully bring down some of the stress levels, right?
I think that's interesting. Your example totally relates to the pandemic. It's just a phase. The stress is going to go away. It will end soon.
We don't know when it's going to end, but it's going to end. Yeah.
But your example is perfect. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So, yeah, that's great. So is there anything besides our mindset and, that controlling our thoughts that we can do to manage our stress?
Well, so there's a lot, yes. And we can talk about, kind of the self-care piece. And self-care comes up a lot. We hear that term thrown around a lot. And self-care is going to look different for everyone. You may have different ideas of self-care. You may have, in your mind thoughts of bubble baths and massages, and or maybe an hour, for yourself.
Longer, right.
Yeah. And depending on what phase of life you're in right now with, maybe you have a brand new baby, maybe your babies are a little bit older, it might look different for you in different stages, right?
Uh-huh.
So, but the most important thing is to make that a priority for yourself. And it may be 5 minutes right now. That may be all that you can get is 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. But if you can get that 5 minutes to maybe just sit in your bedroom alone, or maybe take a hot shower, just those little things can do wonders for you when you're not getting that.
Well, don't you think that ties into mindset too? Because if you do it and you're like just commiserating and you're miserable and you're complaining about it, it's not really going to be therapeutic.
Right.
So you need to be like, I'm cherishing this. I'm finding peace right now.
Yeah.
Breathing deeply and just helping yourself relax. Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Well, and the other thing you mentioned to me before we talked was, how do you fuel your body to help reduce stress?
Yes. So we could talk for hours about this. So I'm going to try to keep it to, just a few minutes, and some really important things that I want you to remember, especially as newer moms. 2 of the main things that you want to remember. One being, you want to make sure that you're eating enough to actually fuel your body for all the energy that's being burned, especially if you're a breastfeeding mom. Mm-hmm. All those calories are going out, even though it may not feel like, you're not running a marathon or anything, but all of those breastfeeding sessions are calories going out, calories equaling energy. So you need to refuel your body. And new moms especially, it can be hard because there's so many things going on. You're focusing so much on, making sure your kids are getting fed, whether or not you can get dinner on the table, all these things that are going on. And a lot of times, you can go a whole afternoon and you've forgotten to eat lunch. It's been, 5 or 6 hours and you haven't had anything to eat. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the main things that I talk about with my moms, is making sure you're eating enough. Yeah. Getting those calories in, like I mentioned with breastfeeding moms, the general recommendation is an extra 500 calories, but that's what it is, a general recommendation, because that can change from day to day depending on, how much your baby's eating. So that's just kind of a general number to think about.
Do you think that they need to eat more calories if they're not getting much sleep? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and I should have mentioned
I
this in
know
the
that can
beginning, but
also cause weight gain when you're not sleeping because you burn calories and
right.
need more
So,
calories.
yeah, all of these things are really intertwined with each other. So, your stress levels, the amount of sleep you're getting, what you're eating, all these things come in together, because if you're not getting enough sleep, then it's affecting your balances.
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably going to have more cravings, and you're probably going to have cravings for like carbs and sugary foods. And then you eat those and your blood sugar goes way high. And then you have that drop down where you come down really low and you're low energy. And then that kind of starts this whole cycle again. So, one way, if you're not able to get really quality sleep, if you're up several times a night still and you can't get a really good chunk of sleep, these other things, making sure you're eating the right foods to fuel yourself, getting some movement, managing your stress, all those things can kind of help alleviate a little bit the fact that you're
The
not
sleep
getting the
defi-
sleep right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And these things, are going to change, like we already talked about, different stages, right? So if you are in a stage where sleep is not, that's not able to be a priority for you right now, then you want to make sure you are prioritizing these other aspects, right? Because
Agreed.
later on down the line, when your baby is sleeping longer, you may now have the energy to start to prioritize exercise, and start to prioritize your sleep.
Very good.
Yeah, yeah. So so eating enough is the first thing, and eating the right foods.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, because as I mentioned, when you go too long without eating, so then you're starving and you end up grabbing whatever's on the counter, whatever's in the first place that you see, whether it's cookies or chips or whatever's the fastest thing that you can
Kids
grab.
leave them out.
I know.
Oh, I wish they wouldn't.
Yep. Yeah. And so, like I said, then that starts the whole cycle, right? So, trying to, as best you can, um, at least have a meal or a snack every couple of hours. And what that's going to do is keep your blood sugar leveled out. It's going to keep the energy consistent and constant in your body. So you're not going to get those lows that are going to then cause cravings and, the low energy, the brain fog. And you're going to be less likely to reach for the not so great stuff. And so when you can, make good choices, you want to go for veggies and fruits, right? Because they've got all the vitamins and the minerals and the antioxidants that are going to support your immune health, which is so important for us right now. It's going to help reduce inflammation. And they're also a really great source of fiber, which is awesome for helping you feel full longer and kind of giving you that constant energy.
I think that there's some misconceptions there because everyone's always like, it's fruits and vegetables are not going to fill me. It's very interesting.
Well, and that is a misconception too, because you can, if you look at, you see those comparisons of, 400 calories of French fries and 400 calories of like broccoli or something, right? And the amount of broccoli that you can have for that same amount is much higher.
Yeah, that makes sense because I was picturing like a big bowl full to get to that 400 calorie mark.
Mm-hmm.
Like a big bowl.
Right. And the additional fiber in there is really what's going to help keep you fuller. So that's a benefit there.
Right.
Another one is, and this seems a little bit counterintuitive to some people, but fat is your friend. Okay, as long as it's healthy fats. So fats that contain the essential fats like omega-3 fatty acids, which come in like fatty fishes like salmon, your nuts, olive oil, avocados. So these are all really important, especially for moms who are breastfeeding and still, in that recovery and postpartum period, because these healthy fats help support your brain health. They help you keep that blood sugar balanced, and they make things taste better.
Yeah.
It's always good, right?
Good.
And so two others, like I said, we could talk about this forever, but protein and then whole complex carbs or whole grains.
Okay.
So
like the pure grains.
Yep. Things like oatmeal, brown rice, quinoa, those are complex carbs. They're great sources of fiber again, so they're going to help you feel fuller, and they're going to provide you that energy and that constant energy. So you're not going to get a spike with like you would with a simple carb that would be something very sugary, or you would get that spike of energy and then you're going to drop down really low. So with your complex carbs, they take longer to digest, so they're going to provide a longer stream of energy to you. And then protein is the other one that's really important as well, because basically all of the tissue in your body is made up of proteins and amino acids. So it helps support your muscle, so building muscle and maintaining muscle. And if you are a older mom like myself, that one is really important, because as we get older, and really it's actually after age 30, your muscle mass starts to decrease each year by a small percentage. So I know, right? Isn't that great? That and bone density are the big things that start to decrease with age. So that's where the exercise comes in. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that's why making sure that you're including protein with every meal is gonna support all of those systems there. Very cool. The last one that we don't really associate with our nutrition, but it kind of is, and that is staying hydrated. So drinking enough water throughout the day. Water makes up 2/3 of your body, and it basically plays a role in every system in your body. So everything, keeps your metabolism running.
I think moms really forget how important it is to have water when they're breastfeeding. It makes so much sense. How much are you giving away?
I know, right?
Sorry, I went off topic.
Yeah, that's okay. No, totally on topic.
Metabolism too, is that you said?
Sorry?
Did you say metabolism affects?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And keeping your digestion running. So I know, sometimes new moms have issues depending on, this may be TMI, but I had a C-section, and just some of the things going on after that, there were some constipation situations.
Irregular.
And so making sure that you're staying hydrated is going to keep everything running. We'll say it like that.
You almost said flowing, huh?
I did. But it also can help keep your skin hydrated. It helps, again, with your energy level. So if you're feeling low on energy, if you're feeling kind of like that brain fog, like you can't concentrate, which I know that's sort of like what mom
sleep deprivation and being a mom, yes.
Yeah, that could be a result of dehydration. So you really want to make sure that you are drinking throughout the day. The number one thing that I can tell people is have it in front of you so that you can see it as a reminder wherever you are. Just have a bottle sitting near you so that you can remember to drink on a regular basis. There are some recommendations about how much you should drink a day. And again, these are kind of general, but some people recommend that you should drink half of your body weight in ounces. So other people say you should drink as much as 90 to 100 ounces. It's kind of, all over, but at least try to get, 8 glasses in a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So what is your priority now? You want to talk to us a few minutes about fitness, a few minutes about sleep? Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
So again,
and then maybe we'll try and have a few minutes of Q&A. So don't leave, guys.
Yes. I'd love to hear guys' questions. So again, exercise. We could talk about this all day too, but I tried to pick out just a couple really important points that I wanted to share with you guys. If you're thinking about returning to exercise, if you're overwhelmed about what to do, because there is a lot of confusing information out there for moms about what's safe, what's not safe. Should you wait to start? What kinds of things?
Conflicting, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of conflicting information. So it's hard to kind of figure out what you should do. And especially now with everybody at home, there's tons more people putting things online. You can find workout after workout, and it's hard to tell, you know, who, you know, what their credentials are. Number one, do they really know what they're talking about? Are these workouts specific for moms who are in a postpartum period? You don't know. These people could be, you know, doing it for just the general population, not taking into consideration what we need to take into consideration as moms.
Right.
So one thing that I wanted to say, and this is kind of like the overarching theme, is that every mom's postpartum experience and recovery is unique to them. So it's kind of hard to, you know, give general statements about what's okay, what's not okay, what's safe, because what might work for one mom at 6 weeks may not be appropriate for another mom at 12 weeks, you know, depending on what kind of birth they had, how their recovery is going.
And how their pregnancy was and how active they were before, right?
Exactly. So even that kind of magical, you know, 6 week mark that we get the all clear from our doctor to return to regular activity, which what's regular activity? Because again, that differs from person to person. And, you know, when you think about, you know, you go into your appointment on for that 6 week appointment, what was different on that day from the day before that you can say, okay, I'm ready to hop right back into, you know, a full workout program. It doesn't really work that way, especially if you had any trauma during your birth, if you had a C-section, chances are you might not be ready to fully hop back in right at that 6 weeks.
Okay.
But one activity that is considered safe for pretty much every stage of recovery and postpartum is walking. And it's actually recommended that women start walking fairly early in their postpartum, even for C-section moms. And you can start with something really easy, like 5 or 10 minutes, or even it might even just be to the end of your block and back. And then you can gradually start to, you know, increase your time and your distance as you start to feel stronger.
Is that really generally speaking at the 6 week mark, or are you thinking like 3-4 weeks? I mean, so, I know it depends.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously if you have, you know, special circumstances, you're going to want to check with your doctor. But in general, even, you know, in those first few weeks postpartum, you can get out and do some really gentle walking, because it's really great for helping your circulation. I know, like I said, I had a C-section, and it was actually a little bit alarming that my legs and feet looked like sausages for a good 2 weeks. So it was really great to get out and get walking and just kind of get the blood flowing and get circulation moving again. And again, back to digestion, getting some movement and walking can kind of help keep things moving as well.
Just to be real, that's a big deal after you have a baby. It really is. It's really so hard to get that right.
So, yeah. Any way you can help out, right?
I had 5. I know.
Yes, you're an expert.
On the wrong thing.
Yeah. And one other thing that I usually suggest to the women that I work with and the women in my group is that if you have the ability to see a pelvic health physiotherapist, it can be so helpful. They can help assess any symptoms of pelvic organ prolapse, incontinence, pelvic pain, diastasis recti, because those things are really going to play a part in how you progress in your exercise journey. Okay. If you're experiencing any of those symptoms, then that is really going to help determine, you know, what exercises are going to be good to start with, safe to start with. And that's not to say that you can't do any exercise if you're experiencing any of those symptoms, but if you do get an assessment there, they can kind of help you craft the plan of how you're going to move forward. So that's one thing that I do suggest that women do.
Very cool.
At some point. And it's never too late to do that. I didn't go and see one until my son was about 2.5 years.
Okay, so very good.
It's never too late. Yeah.
Okay, can you talk to us about sleep? Yes. My favorite topic.
I know your favorite topic.
Like I help my clients. I teach them stuff, but I'm just really curious what you have, because you have a background in all of these health issues. And
yes.
Thank you.
And I think it's funny because I'm always talking about quality sleep, you know, make sure prioritize your sleep.
Now you're in a group where we're like,
what?
Don't you dare say that to me.
Yeah, they're like, how do you expect me to get any sleep? But there are some things you can do to help make the best of what you have at the moment.
That's
So
perfect. That we can handle, right, guys?
yeah. Maybe you're not able to get 7-8 hours of sleep. I don't know if I've seen 8 hours of sleep in years, but some of the things that I talk about with my clients and in my group is the importance of a bedtime routine. And it sounds, like, why do I need to make a bedtime, routine for myself? I'm an adult, but it can be really helpful because, I talk to moms who say, well, the only time I have for myself is after everybody else goes to bed. And then I'm up at 1 a.m., scrolling
Are you
through
trying to
social
quote me right
media,
now?
watching
I told you that
Netflix.
dirty secret.
You're not the only one, believe me. And so that they feel like that's the only time that they have for themselves. And then what happens is they end up, going to bed late and then having not great sleep, waking up early, or even having to wake up in the middle of the night. And then, the whole cycle starts again. And that goes into, kind of goes back to what we've already talked about, how all of these things are intertwined together. So when you wake up feeling groggy and like you're not rested, right? You don't feel like you got rejuvenating sleep, then that's going to affect probably your appetite, what you're eating. You're probably going to have more cravings. It might, send those stress levels higher because you're kind of feeling irritated that you're tired. So all these things are intertwined. Mm-hmm. So what can we do about it? Give yourself a bedtime. Okay. I know it sounds like, you're talking to your children, but even if it's just 20 or 30 minutes earlier than you're used to, shut everything down. Yes, okay. I know. And a lot of times moms say, well, that's the only time I have to do anything. I have to, fold the laundry and things like that. And I would say that at least me personally, I prioritize my sleep much more than I prioritize folded laundry.
It should be. Guys, look at the health benefits. It should be prioritized.
Yeah. So shutting things down, 20, 30 minutes earlier. And the screens really, I know you guys have probably heard it before, but turning the screens off before bedtime, 30 minutes to an hour before bedtime, because that affects the blue light coming from your devices, affects the melatonin, which helps regulate your sleep cycles. So if you're on your screens right before bedtime, not only can it be kind of, getting your mind working and keeping it thinking about all different things, but then it's also, affecting, like I said, it's affecting the melatonin and affecting your sleep cycles as well. So shut down the devices. The two best purchases that I've made are room darkening curtains and a sleep mask, because you want to have an environment. And if you're like me, in the beginning, when my son, actually up until he was a year, my son was in our room sleeping. Not the best environment, but we made the best of what we had, and had the room darkening curtains, and I had the sleep mask. I have several. I get them in a pack of 3 so that I have backups if I need them. And they're great because, making the space where you're sleeping as conducive to sleep as possible is going to help you kind of, help get your mind set for sleep. So those are great things, right?
Yeah. So it's good to think about what matters.
And then also kind of going back to everything being intertwined, movement throughout the day. So incorporating some type of exercise. It doesn't have to be an hour of high intensity exercise, but some type of movement throughout the day is going to, and it sounds like, that would maybe keep you up, even if you can only fit it in a little bit later. Just doing that on a consistent basis is going to help your sleep cycles as well, help you get more restful sleep as well. And then also what you're eating, what you're putting into your body is going to help support your sleep as well. So going back to what we talked about earlier as well.
That's awesome. Okay. So we could ask you questions all day. We might have to have a part 2 someday because
Okay.
I think we can learn each of those topics better.
I know.
But we can also join your group, right?
Yes. Yep.
So what's your group
Yep.
called?
So my group is called Postpartum Wellness for New Moms Over 40. And I don't want that to scare you away. I do primarily work with moms over 40, but just like all the information that we're sharing tonight, as you see, it applies to moms of any age. So you can feel free to come in and join me there.
So say the name one more time.
Postpartum Wellness for New Moms Over 40. I know it's a long name.
Okay. And it's 40, right?
40, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'll make sure everybody gets that as well.
Yep.
Yep. And then, do you have a website or any other information?
I do. Yep. You can just go to Health Coaching by Kate. Another long one too.
Okay. And it's Kate, right?
Kate, right.
All right, ladies. Do you have some questions for Kate? You can turn on your audio and you can chat in the chat box or message in the chat box. It's up to you. I have some questions for her as a backup, so we'll just wait for a second.
Yep.
I think you gave us some great info. They're probably trying to process.
I know. Like I said, I could talk for hours on all of this.
Okay, well, we'll just wait for you guys while I ask a couple of questions. So, do you have any other ideas for us to incorporate movement in our day with all the kids around? That's hard, I think. Yeah, I know they can go for walks if the weather cooperates or if they're even allowed to leave their house.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else that they can incorporate that would maybe even focus on priority parts of the body that we need to strengthen after having a child?
Yep. So you can do some really easy exercises. And one thing, let me say first, is that, again, mindset plays a role in this as well, because a lot of times when we think of exercise or we hear the word workout, we automatically think of, it has to be 30 minutes or an hour, and we have to be sweating and we have to be, doing all these crazy movements. And it really doesn't have to be that way. Really anything that gets your body moving, it could be even 5 minutes of stretching.
Okay.
As long as you're moving your body in a way that makes you feel good, that can have great benefits for you. But some exercises that you can do just kind of while you're hanging around, especially when you're newly postpartum, you can do gentle movements like body weight squats are great because they are a compound movement that work different muscles, multiple muscles at the same time. So that's a really great one. And it's a secret core exercise as well, because you may not realize it. You think it's just working your glutes and your hamstrings and your quads, but it's actually secretly working your core as well.
That's cool.
So they're a really good one. And you can do them, like you could even do something where if you're watching a show or you're just kind of just sitting on the couch or something, like at commercials, you can get up and you can do a few sets of squats, or you can lay down on the floor and you can do some heel slides, which are great to help kind of connect to your core and through that pelvic floor, which is something that's, again.
It's kind of what I was thinking about. I know we have to work on our stomachs. We probably need to strengthen for sure the pelvic floor.
Yep. Yeah. And one of the first ways that you can start to strengthen your pelvic floor is by working on your breathing and deep breathing. It's called a connection breath, where you actually, make sure you're breathing a full belly breath and expanding fully through your ribs, through your diaphragm, through your core, and through that pelvic floor, because all of those muscles actually work together. Okay. So that first thing that you can do to kind of start working your core again and strengthening it after pregnancy is to start with those connection breaths, which connect all of the muscles in your core. We call it the core canister, all of those muscles together. So that's one you don't even really have to, you could be sitting anywhere and you can practice that deep breathing.
That's very cool. Okay, I have one question that actually is connected to what I said. April said, other than walking, would you suggest any type of exercise over others?
So that's one where it kind of starts to get a little bit specific depending on your situation.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Kind of where you are in your recovery. Generally, you can start with some some body weight strength movements earlier. Like I mentioned, a heel slide, a body weight squat. You can do some glute bridges are great. They also help start to strengthen the pelvic floor, and they help to strengthen your hamstrings and your glutes, also a little bit of your core as well. So those are really great ones that you can start with.
That's great. Okay. And then do you see the other question up there?
Yes.
I think you can go ahead and, I can't even pronounce it right. You want to read it out loud?
Yep. Do you have any specific resources regarding diastasis recti? Something practical, low key, and easy to incorporate. So yes, that's from Kelsey. Yes, Kelsey, I do, not right here, but I do have lots of resources and kind of little short little exercise programs that actually include several of the exercises that I already mentioned. So things like glute bridges. The connection breath is basically the foundation of restoring your core and pelvic floor. That's the first thing. Even if you go see a pelvic health physiotherapist, the first thing that they're going to teach you and look at is your breathing and how you're breathing. So that's going to be the foundation of that. And that's, you know, it sounds like it's really easy, but when you're focusing on that and trying to improve that, it actually takes a lot of concentration to do that. But it's low key and it's definitely practical. But yeah, if you want to connect, we can connect offline because I've got some resources that I can send you, some articles and things, and some easy workouts too.
Okay.
Or if you want, I can send them to you, Meredith, and you can share them with your group.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
you can do that. Let's see. I'm gonna see if there's anything else we didn't talk about. Well, you guys are still thinking too. We just have a minute here. I'm sure she needs to go. We all need to go back to our lives. Are there bad habits I should avoid with fitness or health? We kind of talked about health a little bit. Fitness, anything kind of come to mind?
Bad habits with fitness.
You know, like things that people just don't realize they're doing.
So, well, one thing that I would say is trying to jump back into things too quickly or trying to do too much. So, you know, some moms kind of early on postpartum, they're thinking, okay, I want to lose the baby weight. You know, I want to get back to my pre-baby size or fit into my jeans. And so they kind of they try to go back to maybe what they did pre-pregnancy right away instead of working into it gradually. And I know that it can take a lot of patience because, you know, the safest way to do it is to start slow and low and gradually increase and progress as you go along. So that's one thing that I would say is trying to jump back in too quickly, because oftentimes you end up causing some, you know, you may cause injury. You may burn out quickly because you realize that you weren't ready for that, and you end up kind of regressing back. So I know it takes more patience and it takes a little bit more time, but it's safer, and in the long run, it's better to progress slowly.
Well, I love that it is a theme in fitness and health to do things in baby steps, because that's
exactly
really what I do.
Yep. For everything that we talked about tonight, I know we talked about a lot of things, and you may be thinking like, how can I do all this stuff? But like we just said, baby steps. Pick one thing that's going to be your priority right now, and just do the smallest thing that's going to work for you right now that's going to help you progress. So maybe that is just taking a walk to the end of your block and back. Maybe it's trying to eat a vegetable with each of your meals instead of trying to completely overhaul everything, right? And then end up overwhelmed and not knowing where to go with it. So just, you know, pick one thing to start with, and then start off as small as you can. And once that starts to feel good, once you feel like that's, you know, you're on board with that, it's kind of part of the lifestyle now, then you can choose the next thing that you're going to start to add in. Yeah. And then all of those things together, you know, over time, add up.
And I get that, because I remember someone pointing out to me once, it's better to lose like a pound a week, which sounds awesome. It's better to lose a half pound a week than to be gaining or not losing. And then you look at the sum of the whole year and it's like, oh, wow, that makes a big difference. So I think it's like that. This one's harder to measure, but you do feel better and better, and you do take better care of yourself a little at a time, right?
And taking the smaller steps and kind of, you know, letting it mix into your lifestyle increases the chances of it sticking in the long run, rather than kind of like going all in right now and, you know, going full force and then burning out, or, you know, just, you know, feeling like it's completely overwhelming to do that, and then you completely quit or regress back to, you know, before you even started.
Oh my gosh, I totally relate to all of this. And it's not just fitness and health. Like you just described the way I do things with baby sleep. Thank you. That's awesome.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, we have a lot in common, just different fields. But I think that's really inspiring to everyone. And I love the way that you explained how to incorporate one thing at a time. That's super inspiring. Yay. Yeah. Give us all hope.
Yes.
Thank you.
For sure.
It's not easy being a mom. It's not easy. Becoming a mom, which is where these guys are at, most as far as I know. They're newer moms, or they have small children, and you're still learning the ropes. Compared to me with a 20-year-old. Or Kate, how old are your kids?
So I've got 12, 9, and almost 3.
Yeah. Nice range.
Nice range. Experience a little bit of everything.
You get it. Looking back from now to when you were a new mom, you definitely have learned a lot, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And some of it just becomes second nature, and then it's a lot easier to think about other things.
Yeah.
And when you get sleep.
When you're in it, it's very easy now on this side to say, you know, it's gonna get better, because when you're in it, you're like, no, it's gonna get better. But it does. Trust me. You'll get to the next stage.
And there are ups and downs still in the future, but we ride those out, just like you said in the beginning. And it's important to know there's phases, and they end, and things get better, and we get stronger. So I've been trying to tell my group lately is you guys have been through some hard stuff for the last 40 days in the pandemic, but look at you, you're all stronger, even if you don't admit it. So, well, thank you so much for your time. Any last minute questions, guys? Last chance. I think we learned a lot, and it was a wonderful way to spend our evening. So thank you so much
for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, so everyone look for the email with the link, and make sure you join Kate's group, and check out her website. What's the website again?
healthcoachingbyKate.com.
Okay. Yep. Very good. Oh, here's one more. Oh. What's your bedtime routine?
What's my bedtime? Pretty much exactly what I told you. I try to cut myself off at 10 o'clock. Sometimes it's 10:30, but I try not to go later than that. And I literally put my phone away. I actually keep a notebook next to my bed, because if I do have a night where I just can't turn my brain off, I have a notebook there. So rather than going on my phone and, you know, like putting stuff in notes or whatever, then I just write it down and get it all out of my head. And sometimes I look at it and I'm like, what did that mean? You know, just crazy things.
That's a great idea.
Get that out of my head. And I put my sleep mask on. I've got my room darkening shades, and I'm good to go. So that's pretty much, sounds pretty basic, but it's, you know, it's amazing once you kind of get into that routine, and how much, when you start to see the difference, then you'll see like, maybe I didn't need to watch that extra Netflix show, because I felt really good when I woke up this morning, you know?
Yeah, that motivation. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got a thank you from April, and a thank you from Kelsey.
Yes.
I've got a teenager who's getting loud. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We ignore the voices. So Kelsey says that would be great for her. I agree. I think that one other thing that I've learned is, you know, you want to do things in the same order for yourself, just like you would for a small child.
That's right.
And those become triggers and sleep cues for your body.
Exactly.
And, so trying to decide what's going to actually slow your brain down in your body. For me, that means usually reading. But if I'm on my phone and I have to put it on airplane mode, it's better for me to not. So I really like the idea of the notebook, so that I can not be tempted.
And really it's about making it a priority, right? So kind of choosing what's going to be better for you in the long run. Is it going to be staying up scrolling on Instagram or whatever, Facebook, or putting it down and going to bed 30 minutes earlier? And like you said, maybe have a book, so you still kind of get that feeling of a little bit of time for yourself.
That's true.
But then you get the benefits of that little, and it may not seem like 20 or 30 minutes can do that much for you, but it can make a big difference.
I love it. I'm inspired. I think we all are. So
Yes.
once again, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.